contraptionating. It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? Everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. Hold on, I got to get us all straightened out. Running a little bit behind tonight. Better late than never. Fresh off the latest rant. Did go a little bit off script on Saturday night's live chat, and well, some things had to be said, and I don't really want to dwell too much on the releases. It is what it is. You can't really blame Dodge for doing what their daddy tells them to do. And when Daddy Stellantis tells you to start doing what they're doing now, you don't really have much of a choice. So, all that being said, plenty to talk about. Just regular old housekeeping stuff. I broke my laptop again. Had to order up a new laptop, which had Windows 11 on it, which won't run my HP Tuners MPV i1. So I had to send it back in to get reconfigured for Windows 10, do a data dump, and go from there. I'm going to try to fix my laptop if I can. I've got super glue and strips of plastic that I think are going to work pretty good. So there's the housekeeping out of the way. I tell you what, I'm having a lot of fun with Stormy right now. So some updates on Stormy. The tuning has gone well, although it's gone weird. So one of the things that I've run into with tuning Stormy is that the DT platform, at least so far as I've been able to play with HP tuners, kind of sometimes doesn't really do what you tell it to do. Little things like trying to kick up idle a little bit didn't quite work. Other weird things were driver command. It's one of those things where it's just you're adjusting how much of the pedal you give it versus how much power you get out of the truck. In this case, strangely enough, ramping up driver demand created a little bit of a stutter in the transmission. So basically probably some kind of a torque converter clutch slip issue. I don't know. It's my first foray into DT tuning. Haven't really had to mess with one. And now that I am learning that there are some weird little gremlins. Also, Stormy is a little bit fussy right after a tune. So lots of that happens to happen a lot, though. I've had Hellcats that were fussy right after a tune, and then everything is fine. So anyway, at least on timestamps, I've been able to pull about 0.2 of a second out of that truck. So at least there's that. Funny other thing, the DTs command a lot more timing than the DS does. And to the point where I actually am pulling about 2.5 degrees of timing, up to 3 degrees of timing actually in one section of the tune. Again, DT goes completely against the grain when you're adjusting it. So just some interesting things to look at there as far as DT versus DS tuning. Marco is in. Got the flex. Hilton mode, what's up? Shane, hold on, get my glasses of reading. Oh, wait, they're in the truck. So, oh, wait, no, they're not. They're right here. There we go. Shane is in. What's up? Chuck is in. Earhake, what up? Saying, hey, B, what's up, man? Marco saying, what should I do to the red eye? Should I run the 305s on my stock rim? Probably not. The problem with running the 305/35 on a stock rim is that your aspect ratio has that tire only about that tall. And there's so much of a kick out on that tire on a 9.5-inch wide rim if you've got a narrow body. It can end up creating kind of an odd contact patch. You would end up really having to run that thing at about 32 psi to get a nice flat contact patch. At least that was my experience when I was running them on Shalandra. So just kind of strange that it would be that way. But what happens is that the tire, it's not like you've got a lot of sidewall where you've got some deflection that'll take up some of that load variance where you want the load coming straight down onto the sidewall of the tires. One of the weird things is that when you have that really flat foot, when it sticks out like this, is you get you get kind of an odd load direction of path to the ground, and so you end up wearing the outsides of those tires more. So you do have to up the pressure. Can lead to some kind of goofy handling characteristics too. And again, it's something that you see on 305s on a 9.5 inch wide tire that you don't really see on a 275 on a 9 inch wide wheel. And that would make sense, it's considerably wider. But I did run them for quite a while, didn't really have too many issues, aside from the fact that, it just was, the contact patch just didn't really work out that well. I ended up going to a 10.5 inch wide rear tire. You can get replicas. The 10.5 inch wide reps are great. I've run them on everything now, and that with a 305/35 works out perfectly. So that's what I would do. And then don't forget, watch the video on how to massage your inner fender to get them to fit with those 305s. If you decide that you want to run the Nittos, you're gonna have to do more work because they are about that much wider, and even mine will still rub occasionally if I'm hitting a corner pretty hard. Ardell is in. Moto X is in. What's up, Chuck? Andy is in. Doc Div saying, how aggressive driver demand? Not very. Marco is saying, you watch UFC and boxing? I do when I can. I was watching the prelims for BKFC, which is the bare knuckle fight club. That was championship, whatever they're calling themselves now. But I didn't see Mike Perry fight MVP, but I wanted to see that fight. Turns out it was like fight of the freaking month. So went into extra round. So, but I don't, you know what? I don't keep up with it the way that I used to. When I was training more, I was more into it, then I would watch it more then, but I just haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention to it lately. I need to, though. I need to get back into it. DM is in. He's got the cadence, but I don't have the shades. Ball guy with the shades with the flex. I like it. BB78's asking which block is better for a 426 trucker, 64 or 61. Depends on what you're going to do with the engine. What are you putting it in? If I were to be building a 426, I'd go with a 6.4. I like the big bore stuff. Tom saying, hey B, I have a 22 Ram E-Torque 392 Air Ride Bighorn. Love the truck, but you... Oh. It stopped. Loves the truck, but me. Cool. Gary Payne saying, hello. Gary's asking, do I have any plans for Wham Show? I don't know what that is. Tom saying, talk about the truck ripping the tires from a dig. Yes, never have mine went to break. I have the 21 Bighorn equipped with the same way, runs well, but even with traction control off, it just hooks up. Man, I don't know. My experience with the 392 trucks was that they just blew the tires clean off. Now, I will admit, these are two-wheel drive trucks. Actually, no, one was a four-wheel drive. Man, I don't know. Maybe it was the surface I was on. But my 321 does really well. And it really, like, my truck loves about a 16 or 1700 RPM launch. It'll just haze the tires. And it's running good. I mean, I tell you what, okay, talking about Stormy, this is one of those weird things. I wasn't really expecting to like the truck that much, if I'm being honest. To me, the Stormy was just going to be a replacement for Buffy. Buffy is a really strong running 4th gen, and 321 gear truck. It's a tradesman. Still weighs about 100 pounds more than Stormy, but I mean, there's just something about that truck. It just freaking screams. But Stormy's a little bit different cat. Number for number, Stormy's faster than Buffy. It doesn't feel faster. It's kind of weird. And by the way, that's something else. I even tried transplanting all of Buffy's info into Stormy, and it didn't translate as well. It's just weird. But anyway, so Stormy's kind of a funny thing for me, guys. Stormy is a vehicle that I am liking more and more and more every time I drive that truck. I'm not beating on it or anything else like that, although it's got a ton of wide open throttle hits. I had really not thought too much about that truck in terms of just liking it, because to me it was just going to be again a replacement for Buffy. But man, the more I drive that truck, the more I like it, and the more I drive it, the better it runs too. So I got to tell you guys, whether you get one with a 392 gear, 321 gear, it really doesn't matter. I got the 321 because I'm on the highway all of the time, and I love the way that thing rips on the highway. And now with the speed limiter off, I mean, I just cruise the thing at 100 miles an hour, and it loves it. Whoa, hey, hold on a second. Chuck, bro, thank you very much. Jesus, thanks, brother. Got 3 questions. Scat Pack will be in storage from Halloween to April 1st. Oh, besides starting it a few times weekly, should I put it on jack stands? Should I add stay-bill to the gas? And should I store it with a full tank of ethanol-free gas, 91 or 93? Excellent questions. I haven't had this question in a long time. Storage questions. So we're talking from October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So we got a full 6 months. So starting it a few times weekly is good. However, make sure you get the car to full operating temperature. You don't want to start the car and only let it run for, say, 10 minutes and then turn it off. You always want to let the car get to full operating temperature. If you can drive the car, if not, again, at least let it get to full operating temperature if you're going to actually run it. I would say always run it at least once a month. The entire armada over here gets driven at least once a month. Secondly, should I put it on jack stands? I don't like putting cars on jack stands, especially unibody cars, because just not the best idea. Those are pressure points on that unibody, and I've always been an opponent to that. What you can get to keep the thing from flat spotting the tires, get you some carpet samples. We used to put the cars on two thick carpet samples. That can help. Race Ramps also has a set of concave storage ramp things. You might think about investing in some of those. The best solution to that situation, again, is to drive it for 20 minutes once a month. Again, I've got you would consider it just a transport loop that I run the entire fleet on once a month. And that is to keep from flat spotting the tires, or at least to run the flat spots out of the tires. If you can't do that, then get those cupped. Basically, they're just like storage rampy things. I cannot remember the actual specific name of what they're like, if they've got a trade name through Race Ramps, but I'm practically positive that Race Ramps sell those. Should I add stay-bill to the gas? Not if you put a full tank of ethanol-free gasoline in the tank. Stay-bill is okay. You can add that to ethanol-free. If at all possible, don't have ethanol in the gas if you're going to be storing the car. But always fill the tank up full when you store the car. The primary reason for that is you want to keep any air out of that gas tank. You don't want to have any air, moisture condensing out of the air into that fuel system. So stay-bill is okay. I don't really see there being too much of a problem with that. But remember, if you do run a little bit of stay-bill, which is cool if you do, and I would recommend it. I don't think it's absolutely necessary if you have ethanol free. Ethanol free actually has a pretty long shelf life in a full tank, so when it's not exposed to any air. But what you'll want to do is obviously if you're going to store the car and if you are starting it, make sure that you are not letting it get too low. Again, once a month, letting it run for 20 minutes, I'll be shocked if the thing burns more than a full gallon of gasoline just sitting there idling. But again, just word to the wise on that. If you're running ethanol at all in that tank, yes, run Sta-Bil for sure. And I would say ethanol free, I'd run about half, maybe half a recommended dose of Sta-Bil. But one of the biggest issues that guys have when they let cars sit in storage will be rodents. I would highly suggest getting one of the rodent repellent contraptions if you can. Always a good idea. Make sure that you keep the windows rolled up. Make sure that it's locked up tight. Also, oil, any other fluids like that will be fine. I wouldn't worry too much about those as long as they're fresh. However, when you get the car out of storage, when you finally do get it out of storage, first things first, change the oil and lightly drive the car to burn off that tank of gas. Don't go hammering on it. Just because you've added a little bit of Sta-Bil to ethanol free doesn't mean that you have retained all of that knock resistance. Most of it may be there, but just remember that you're going to be looking for that first actual full tank of gas before you start playing around with that thing. So burn all of that out that you can. What some guys will do is they'll burn through about half the tank on like a long loop cruise, burn about half a tank out and then fill it up from there and then run the car a little bit more, and then you can cycle through the gasoline. I prefer to try to run that thing all the way down if possible and then run fuel in it. But again, with me, I'm running everything once a month, and so I'm kind of keeping somewhat fresh gas in it. But for a 6-month draw, I would absolutely run that car practically dry. Well, not practically dry. You want to run it until the fuel light comes on. The thing is, if you have any condensation, you want to make sure that that's all out of that tank before you start hammering on it. But yeah, just be careful with the starting it and letting it idle for small amounts of time, because again, what'll happen with that is, especially when it's cold, the oil warms up, air starts to condense. You can actually have air condensing in the crankcase, and you'll have just a little bit. It's basically like adding dew to your oil. This is really prevalent when, like, say if this is the oil filler cap, you take the oil filler cap off and you look and it looks like it's got a little milkshake in it. That will mean that you didn't get the oil hot enough, and that is actually condensation on your filler cap. Well, I had seen that once before, and I thought, oh my God, it's got a blown head gasket, but that wasn't the case at all. It was just a simple case of condensation in the crankcase. Letting the thing run long enough will allow all of that to actually cook off, which is what you want to do. The other thing is you want to get it to that operating temperature, because remember, on cold starts, your car is running rich. And even though you've got fresh ring packs and you don't have a ton of ring gap in that engine or anything like that, you'll still get some fuel get past the rings and into the oil because you're running a richer mixture. You want to let the engine run to where you basically distill any other, in this case, gasoline out of the oil. So again, you're just distilling out stuff you don't want in there, which is moisture and gasoline. If you let the thing run for a small amount of time, and you're just kind of firing up a little bit, letting it run for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then shutting it off, then the car is experiencing an extremely rich condition over and over and over again. And it's got extremely retarded timing. The timing is retarded on cold start. So it's kind of an exacerbation of everything. So that's why these things sound so great on cold start. Well, it's because the timing is retarded, and so you're basically lighting that mixture off late. You've got more pressure exiting the exhaust when that exhaust cracks open, and that's why it sounds good. It's got the pop, 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 pop. It's got more volume, in essence, of hot gas coming out of the exhaust valve during those conditions. So I know that's a lot to unpack. There's a lot that I was talking about, so I'm going to kind of go back over it again. Again, jack stands, I don't like the idea of jack stands at all. Again, it just creates pressure points, and you've got a unibody car. Not a good idea. Get those storage deals, the little things that go along with the curve of the tire. Stay-bill, it's not going to hurt anything to run it, but again, you're going to want to run that with ethanol-free gasoline and then burn all of that stuff out before you start hammering on it when you pull her out of storage. Always run a full tank of the highest octane that you can find with ethanol-free. I know down here Buc-ee's sells 92 octane for the power sports and for the landscaping guys. Again, you know, if you're going to run the thing, make sure that you run it for long enough to get it to full operating temperature. And you want to hold full operating temperature for about 3 or 4 minutes at least, if you cannot drive it. So, but man, thank you very much, Chuck. I really, honestly, so very much appreciate that. Hopefully that answers some questions. I threw a little bit in there as well, you know, some bonus stuff just in terms of you know, keeping the critters away from the car. Absolutely a good idea. You know, literally you want to put you know, if you, and you know, what you want to do is basically create an environment where critters don't want to get near your car. So again, the you know, the rodent, the small mammal, get her away from her contraptions are good. You know, anything you can do with, you know, keeping bugs and other, you know, critters from getting in and around that thing, the better as well. But man, thank you very much, brother. I do appreciate that. Catalyst, thank you very much. He's saying he deep scratched my driver's side window as I was installing my race seat on my Challenger. Is it fixable without replacing the whole window? Possibly. So if you've got a safe light or something like that around you, there are glass scratch repair services. And basically what you're doing is you're filling it in with, I think it's epoxy that they're using, like a clear epoxy or something like that. And once they fill it in and buff it all in, you can typically not even tell that it was scratched. That's how they do with cracks anyway. If you can feel the scratch in the glass, that's about the only way I can think of, but one of the local places around you might be able to get that fixed. I've never actually had to deal with a scratched glass, but I have had to deal with the, you know, the chip repairs and things like that. It usually turns out pretty good. But I would look into that repair service. I've never tried to buff out glass either, although I have heard of guys that have had surface blemishes on glass that they've been able to buff out the same way you'd buff it out of paint. So definitely a couple of routes you can go. It just depends on how bad the scratch is. Saying you're replacing the racing seat, I'm guessing you might have caught one of the tracks on the glass. Man, if it's not, if you can't really feel it and it's almost like a blemish, you might be able to treat it just like a scratch in the paint, like a mar in the paint. I've heard of guys doing it. I've never personally done it, but I have, like I say, I've pulled all kinds of stuff out of paint. So, you know, it might actually be possible, especially with an aggressive, like a compound running at it. But even then, I don't even know if you need something all that aggressive. I don't know. Try the glass repair place first. See if they can get you squared away. Again, a lot of times they have a filler they can put in there, and then they, you know, wipe out the excess and it knocks it out. But I have heard of it being done. Chuck saying, I think I will do the 5-month storage to keep the salt off the scat. Gotcha. Saying, thanks for the tips. I will follow your instructions. Man, thank you very much for that contribution, brother. I really do appreciate it. Chuck's also saying no stable burn old gas out when the muscle car season starts. Drive it back and forth in my driveway. Gotcha. Just as long as you keep it. It's got bait stations for the rodents. Good, good. Yeah, make sure you've got. You definitely want to have those available to you so that you can, or in that garage, so that the car is going to be available to you when you want to get in there and start it. I have had situations where, and this sucks too, situations where you get a phone call from somebody, go, man, I've got this intermittent problem. And it's like, dude, we're not a diagnostic show. Okay, what is it? And you get this weird intermittent problem, and come to find out it's rodent damage. And you'd be surprised where you can find, like, you're lucky if they only find an O2 harness, right? But we've seen them get up into the engine compartment, and for whatever reason, they always seem to gnaw on things right next to what they're plugged into. Complete disaster flick. So yeah, definitely bait stations. You'd like to have them. The some people say they work, some say they don't. But anything will work. Anything that keeps them out of your life is the most important thing. But thank you very much, man. I really do appreciate it. Let's see. Oh, Dr. Just saying, unlock the converter on 1.2 and 2.3. I could probably do that. It's easy to do. Driver demand, you're talking about 2.7 versus 3.0 on... let's talk about tuning in a separate deal. I can go over some of the more specifics. But 2.7, no. In fact, I'll put everything back to stock. You're talking about wide open throttle demand for wide open throttle command voltage was at 3.1. 2.7 didn't help, didn't make it any different. But truck rips, so I'm pretty happy with the way she sits right now. And it's weird. It's one of the few vehicles that I've driven. The more I drive it, the more I like. Damn, Chuck, thank you, brother. Saying thank you for your info. I don't want to make the same mistake I made with my shaker when driving it in winter. I'll follow your advice, man. I appreciate it. Listen, the best advice is to overthink it. I know it sounds kind of weird, but there's a lot of little things that can absolutely go wrong. And you got to remember that these things are tough. The parts, they're a lot tougher than what you might give them credit for, but little things can wreck them and ruin them. So again, just making sure that you've got all the provisions, everything set, ready to go, as far as fresh fluids. You've got all the things that you're going to need for critter abatement, and you want to also make sure that you're not you're not putting the car in a situation where it could get damaged at all. I've seen guys do outdoor storages, and that's never a really good thing. You always want to make sure you're storing the thing inside. Car covers. Oh, that's another thing, car covers. So just remember that, if you get into a, real windy situation, things like that, car covers are great. But if you're in a dusty area, dust gets up underneath it, you get that car cover moving around, you can actually scratch the paint by having a car cover on it. It's kind of weird, but just another, just thing that I have learned over the years with those things. Or I should say things that I didn't think would be a problem that wound up being a problem. Chuck saying freezing temps here during the winter. Don't want the battery to die. The battery is actually probably going to be okay. You can always hook them up to a battery tender if you wanted to. But yeah, it's nerve wracking too. Believe me, I understand completely. Oh, when you're letting them sit for any real length of time, it's weird. It's tough. Oh, Doc Div saying he's done a ton of the DS and DT trucks. Yep. Yeah, I'm actually loving that truck. 62 saying, Dr. Mason, hello, Banshee, aka Epic Fail, in my opinion. Yeah. They could have done better. That's for sure. I don't want to lose my mind again. I did, I did kind of lose it on that last one. Oh, SRT's hanging out with Marco. Bosos versus Haney 2. I didn't see the first one. I gotta get on my watching again of that stuff. Super Talk saying, evening B, watching it work. Very cool. Good seeing you. Good having you, brother. Oh, Eric, oh, Labor Day weekend. We are Mopar. Oh, yeah, Texas Motor Speedway. Probably not going to be able to make it. Man, I am tied up for so long right now. It's not even funny. Katie saying, what up, Mason? Still loving that Joker cam in his 2014 Challenger RT. Very nice. After more than a year, you did good. The head, oh, let's see. You did good. The head stay turning. Nice. It's a great package on the 5.7. And again, Chuck, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. Really a ton, brother. Thank you. X is in saying, what up, Professor B? Oh, got the flex. I like it. Oh, Ardell saying, I also store my 22 Hellcat from October to April. This info is great. Yeah, a lot of guys do, and it's something that doesn't really come up too often. But vehicle storage is kind of a big deal, especially if you're, living in the northern states. I mean, it is what it is. You're not going to be driving the car year round, and so, it's proper storage, proper preparation prevents piss poor performance, right? So you're always going to be getting those things ready, and you're never going to stop getting it ready until you close the door and you're gone, and then you think, what did I forget? So the most important thing is, again, to just make a list, follow the list, check marks. There's nothing that is unimportant. There's not one step that's more or less important. It's a concert to get those things set up and ready to go for the winter. Here's one. If you have another tip, if you have drag radials and you live in an area where the temperature is going to be below, say, 20 degrees for more than about a week straight, make sure you have those tires somewhere where their temperature is not really going to go too much below 40 degrees. You do not want your temps to drop that low with those types of tires, because the compound isn't designed for those types of low temperatures long term. So you can get cracking, you can get the tires to where they'll flat spot, and it's really bad when those things flat spot. So again, drag radial prep, any of your drag race stuff, make sure that you keep those things ideally above 45 degrees, but above 40 is good. Just don't let them ride at like 32 degrees for any real length of time. Guys, thank you very much. Hang on. Gary is in, bro. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see, asking, B, what is the purpose of the Mopar Performance 5th gear upgrade for 6-speed manual transmissions? That would be to upgrade it to the Magnum the Magnum 6-speed, I believe. Also, the 41 spline half shafts from the Red Eye upgrade. Would I need to upgrade my stock Scat Pack hubs? No. As a matter of fact, you can run the larger half shafts across the board. In fact, one of the things that the guys were doing were running Demon and Red Eye drive shafts, or I should say prop shafts, half shafts, if you will, on their cars. So that's not a problem. In fact, that's why I've got an extra set of extremely low mileage, and like 2,000 miles on them, stock Hellcat shafts, literally right down here, heavier than you might think too. It's because a buddy of mine went with the Demon axles. But I don't think that you're really in. I really don't think you got to spend any money. I think you're in good shape. I'm not really sure if the fifth gear is a torque handling issue or not. We never ran into any problems with fifth gear, fourth gear, third gear, any gears with the manual cars. And we had guys that were beating them up pretty good. In fact, we had one that was kind of hanging out at the shop for what seemed like forever, out of the country owner. And his instructions were drive it. So we drove it. I mean, we didn't beat on it. It was just something, if you needed to go like parts running, you'd jump in the thing and drive it. It was kind of a fun car, Bravo package car, with a 6-speed. And let's see, it was a 6-speed, clutch line mod. That's it. That's all that car really had. And fun car. And but I don't think that would be anything that you would need to worry about. I haven't heard of anybody needing it. I'll put it to you like that. And it's one of those things where you just don't need to spend the money. And to further that point, not only have I not heard of anybody breaking a Hellcat transmission, it will be the last transmission that you would hear of anybody breaking. That's probably one of the more stout manuals that's ever been behind an engine in these cars. So, just coming up through here. Chris is in. Orange Crush in the house. I'm done with all this EV BS. Interesting fact, the manufacturer with the highest percentage of vehicles traded in within the first 12 months of ownership is Tesla. Yeah, I had heard about that. They're really expensive, and once that one-trick pony part of it wears off, it ain't no much fun anymore. Especially when you get used to the citation, the old Chevy Chevette quality of interior. Hey, but they're fast, right? But yeah, Gary, I wouldn't worry about spending any money. I wouldn't worry about a fifth gear upgrade for the 6-speed manual. Like I say, I haven't heard anything on that. And unless you're running, honestly, brother, unless you're running slicks at the drag strip, I really wouldn't worry about the half shafts at all. If you're only on the street, there's not a whole lot you can do that is going to hurt the half shafts. The tires are going to light up before the half shafts are going to be in any real danger. Rift is asking, just kind of scrolling back up, how long is considered storing it? I always said anything more than about 2 months, mainly because of the goofy E10-ish gasoline that you can get. Sneaking back up here. Oh yeah, Chuck. Oh, I think I was Chuck. Salty Roads, trying to keep the salt off of it. Absolutely. Yeah, please don't ever put any undercoating on those cars either. The best way to keep the salt off of it is to keep her safe. Tom saying, funny you say how this the fifth gens run. Again, my 392 E-Torque Crew 4x4 walks my cousin's 3.5 Eco. Even with him loading the snails. Nice. Driven this truck plenty and feels faster, but reality is the final arbitrator. Yeah, so here's the thing. It's weird. You know, in my decision to buy a truck, you know, I was looking at the Fords for a hot second, and I just never could warm up to that thing. There was something about it that was just oddly. There was nothing wrong with the truck. I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't fall in love with it. Yeah, one of the things about the Ford, I will say this: I had one legit bitch about the Ford that almost turned into a deal breaker for me. This was outside of the stuff that I had to deal with that, just the weird scenario with the dealership and all of that. In fact, had I gone to another dealership, the scenario might have been different, because remember, I walked into the Ford dealership with my checkbook in my hand. But one of the strange things that I found with the Ford is the lack of True Track. Did y'all notice that? Like, when did this go away? Where was I when they just quit putting True Track in trucks? True Track, by the way, guys, is synonymous with no slip, with Dodge, Positrack, with Chevrolet. It's Ford's limited slip rear end. And the reason why that was a bit of a problem for me is, remember, this would not be my first, second, or third F-150 that I have owned in my life. Two of those were Lightnings. One of them was Whitey, and Whitey was an awesome truck. 09 5.4, had all the cam phaser noise, sounded like a diesel truck, ran great, right up until it blew the transmission. Anyway, but what I didn't want, I wanted limited slip. I didn't want a locker, because I didn't want to have to remember or forget, or remember to forget, or forget to remember that I've turned the e-locker on. Like, how is it you can get a truck with an open diff, or you get this e-locker that basically turns the rear end into a spool? So, you know, I hop in the truck, fire it up, put the thing in sport mode, hit the locker, and you're in the parking lot, and it's hopping around the parking lot. I can't imagine that that's good on parts. You know, I don't know if it's hurting anything, but it sure as heck isn't helping, and a limited slip would do just as good. I love the no slip in the Ram, whether it's a 392 gear or a 321. It just flat out works. It's aggressive too. The no slip in the Rams is one of the more aggressive limited slip rear ends that I've ever driven. It more aggressive than that thing right there, as a matter of fact. So anyway, just kind of an aside, like a bit of a sidebar chat about the trucks, one versus the other. Like I say, it wasn't a deal breaker for me. You know, it wasn't something that I was like, oh, I can't live with this truck like this. But it kind of started to turn into a problem after I had driven the Ram, and the Ram was just so comfy. It was like, dude, this is just a nice truck. It just happens to be pretty quick too. Rift is in. How did I miss Rift? Saying what's up, y'all? Oh, Rift is saying his sits around for a few weeks here and there. Yeah, that one sits around. I mean, I literally haven't barely been driving that thing. Oh, Ardell saying in Montana they don't use salt, but they use gravel. Ew. Chuck saying freezing temps, don't want the battery to die, for sure. Destroyer 1320 saying eat a professor. Oh, I got the flexing. I like it. Oh, Doc Div saying Dodd uses GPEC 2 on the later stuff. Yep, 18 plus have to be GPEC 2. 17 later GPEC 3. Oh yeah, for the smart cable. Yep. Yeah, the older stuff in the GPEG, the later GPEG. Yeah, no, I'm just looking at, you know, an idle number. I'm looking at an idle number. I'm looking at the throttle mapping. I'm looking at the clips, the throttle clip, things like the watt clip, little things like that, you know, there's settings. And it wouldn't matter which operating system they're working under. I mean, you would think that a setting is a setting and a clip is a clip, and you know, just would work that way. And it kind of did, kind of didn't. didn't work as well as what I had thought. But anyway, I ended up stumbling into a pretty decent tune on that truck. So I am very happy with it. Oh, Rich saying, when I changed my oil in my cat, I also drained the oil cooler, but only a few drops come out. Is it necessary to do every time? No. Meaning, do I need to change the oil cooler every time also? No. The confessions of a of a maintenance tech. No, listen, you might see the guys at dealerships do it. It's going to be kind of rare when they do also, because if you're letting the thing drain back, you're getting most of the oil out of the thing. That's usually why guys only put the 6.5 quarts in it. What I do is I basically will just say, look, drain the oil out of the pan, get the filter off the thing, put the filter on, fill it full of oil before you do though, and put your 5 quarts in the crankcase. Pull the thing off the ramps and then fill her up to your full level and call that good. That's the way I've always done mine, and it works out just fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's not that big of a deal. So what some guys will say is, well, there could be debris in the oil cooler. If there's debris in the oil cooler, bro, you got bigger problems than getting the debris out of your out of the coolers. That means that something has gone catastrophically bad, and it would have made itself violently apparent if it is to the point where you've got kibbles and bits floating around in oil in the actual cooler itself. General regular wear will not be a big deal, and that would also mean that it got past the filter, which means your filter bypass is gone, and you've got big problems. So yeah, don't worry about it. Dan is asking, do you think a 275 40/20 would be okay on the stock 20x8 wheel on the rear of the 22 Challenger RT? I've had other guys have run them with no issues, but I want to get your opinion. Again, on an 8-inch wide wheel, the 275 is going to act a lot like a 305 on a 9.5. You're not really going to run into problems with it. You're just going to get they're going to pooch out from the rim, and unfortunately, you just don't have much more than about that much of a sidewall height, and so it doesn't have a lot of time to basically be rounded off. It just sits straight out like that from the rim. Again, you're going to have to run a little bit more pressure to keep that bow out of it, but even then you'll get kind of an odd wear pattern to them if you ever pattern test them. I did quite a bit of pattern testing with a 305 on the 9.5-inch wide wheel, and I think it was like 32 or 34 gave the most consistent wear patch. You got to remember, you're also on you're running around in a car with independent rear suspension, so you want a more uniform contact patch, or as uniform contact patch as you can. You're not really loading up on a launch on a street, so if you load it up with any real amount of traction, you're just going to bust the tires loose anyway. So again, check your pressures. You're going to have to run a little bit more pressure in them. Again, I would probably think that it would be similar to a 305 on a 9.5-inch wide wheel, which is going to be putting you somewhere around that 32 to 34 psi minimum for the rears, where normally if you're going to run and you're going to try to get a little bit more traction out of a stock set of rear tires, you might run them at 27. And there's what Chuck was talking about, keeping the salt off the car for sure. BML, MZ saying, I loved your Dodge rant a few days ago. I was the same, went from laughing at day 1, rage at day 2, and just drunk depressed from day 3. What the hell, Dodge? Yeah. Man, I tell you what, that what's funny is that if y'all haven't seen that live show, I don't really start losing my mind until about the 25-minute mark, somewhere in there. Or maybe it's the 15-minute mark. Anyway, I start off just kind of meandering through the conversation, and then you can kind of tell I'm holding back, then finally I just kind of lose it, and but that's the thing. A lot of guys did that. A lot of guys felt that way. And listen, it has. So the V8 thing, nobody really cares at this point that the V8 is going away if they have something else that they can start to ponder. Inline 6-cylinder with a big hybrid. In fact, HP makes a transmission. I think it's a 9-speed. Wouldn't be too much to convert, but it's got like a 150 or 200 foot-pound of torque pancake motor that works great. And that would be the hybrid base, and you'd have 700 foot-pounds of torque or whatever. Would be a great thing. Look, at least it would be something. Like, okay, now I can start to wrap my head around it. Okay, the V8's going away. I understand why. I get it. So how can we make this work? And then you start to look at it and go, oh, well, you can do this. Oh, inline 6, you can make those things rip. And, wow, now you got electric power to play with, and that's got a whole new tuning. All of that. All of it would be amazing if they would have just done that instead. Anyway, I just kind of teed. That was an hour of me just straight going absolutely crazy. At least 40 minutes of me losing my mind on the back half of that. Let's see. Madera's asking if a Chrysler 2.4 i4 is a good engine to build for a fun weekend car. Dad's got one on an Avenger SXT. They're fun. I really wouldn't try to build a ton of power with it. I would say, just typical bolt-ons, get out there and let her rip, have fun. It's saying no stay build, gotcha. And he's got the bait station. It's talking about keeping the car critter free when you're storing it. Arfos is asking, is there, in your opinion, a fuel cleaner or additive that you actually like? Somebody brought up the point that Lucas can lubricate the fuel pump and wanted to get your input, whether or not that's just BS. That's just BS. That's what the gasoline is actually there for. The additives themselves aren't really needed. There's nothing that an additive will do that gasoline doesn't already do for your car. That also goes for oil. Anything that you're going to put into your crankcase that is not an engineered lubricant, like that comes from Mobil 1, Pennzoil, Amsoil. If you're not running those types of oils, believe me when I tell you, you're not really doing yourself any favors. And the snake oil that you get sold is just that. You might as well be snake oil. So stay away from the additives, whether it's for fuel or for crankcase. I get it. Marvel Mystery Oil. Tune up in a can. But the reality is, if you're maintaining the vehicle properly, there's really no reason to need any of that. Now, if you're talking about like an octane booster or something like that, Boostane seems to be pretty good. But again, it's only, I would only use it for octane insurance. I would never tune around that particular type of product. Always a bad idea to tune a car on any kind of an actual MMT style octane booster, because you never know how the customer is actually, if they're actually going to be running the stuff all the time. And anyway, it can turn into a complete disaster. So I would definitely stay away from any of those types of products. You don't really need them, and they're not doing you any favors, that's for sure. Ardell's saying he uses dryer sheets to keep the mice and rodents away. My garage is very well insulated and no rodents. I put dryer sheets in my garage around and in my cars, and it works well. Very cool. Never knew that. That's a cool tip. Thank you. Oh, Ripped is talking to Cattle, saying he had a repair done with his window with that filler, and it does look good, but from certain angles you can still see it. Yeah, it won't be the same density as the glass, so you may still be able to see it, especially at an angle, which would make sense. I can see that. So, good tip. Hang on. Oh. Gary's saying, hey, Chuck, his car's still in storage now. Keep it full as stated. He's got the mothball packets for sure. Good idea under the hood. And one in the trunk. Use dryer sheets in the cabin filter and in the cabin of the car. Good idea. Destroyer saying, hit like, y'all. Chuck saying, cool. Thank you, Gary. Your mom keeps calling. It's funny. Asking, what is my favorite Mopar color? Redline red is my favorite Mopar color, followed by, well, it would have to be Frostbite. Hang on. Oh. Got a lot. Hang on. Chuck, thanks. I appreciate that, brother. Saying 275 40 ZR20 Pirelli P0 all season should be okay for cold storage. Absolutely, they are. Unlike drag radials, yeah, drive it back and forth once in a while to keep them from flat spotting. You can. The main thing is you want to not have drag radials on the car, but the P0 all seasons are just that. They're all seasons, and they're not going to, the compound itself is not going to be as subject to cold temperatures the way that the much softer compounds are. So you are 100% in the clear, my man. Don't have to worry about those tires whatsoever. The good thing about the all seasons is that since they're designed for the weather that the car is going to be stored in, you're not going to run into the same issues that the drag radials have, which there's also like a hidden thing that if you keep the drag radials that cold for a long amount of time, the tread itself can crack, but the rubber itself can crack on the tread, but it can actually also ruin the tires. It'll make the compound not as soft anymore. So it'll make you can still get them to hook, but they will wear out real fast, like way faster than what you might expect or what you would have expected beforehand. I had a set of, this has happened to me a couple of times actually. When I was in Dallas, I lived in Dallas at a point in time where it was a particularly cold winter, and I had a set of, this will date it, but I had a set of BFG drag radials. Those things after that winter, I just kept them in the garage. I didn't think anything of it. Those things after that winter only lasted about a month. I mean, there was really nothing left of them, honestly, after about a month. And it's primarily because they were kept out in the cold. Granted, that was years ago, but something to consider. But very good question. Hang on. I'm catching in on. Looks like Racer X is in saying, hey guys, what's up, Racer X? Tad's asking, I'm just kind of picking guys at random here. Tad's asking, have you ever driven the old Omni GLHS? If so, what did you think? No, but I had a car that was not really similar. I had a Dodge 600 Turbo, which was a lot of fun. But I never drove a GLHS. I did drive a Daytona Turbo, though, which is, again, very similar. And had driven Volkswagen Rabbits from the same vintage, roughly the same year range. And those were a lot of fun too. Those were the cars that got me to where I was just I just would get giddy around those. You hear them described as hot hatches. I would just get kind of nutty around those cars. They're so much fun to drive. And especially when you're a kid, I mean, they handle really well. They're punchy. They're zippy little cars, real responsive throttle response. But no, I've driven the Daytona. Fun car, by the way. In fact, and I don't have it here. So kind of a neat fact. Back in the day, Dodge supported the 2.2 liter turbo engine quite a bit through direct connection. And they had 13, 12, and 11 second packages. I think I need to find that. I've got old direct connection catalogs. And, basically how to build your 12 second 2.2 liter turbo. And a lot of them were Daytonas. I think there's a GLH or at least one of the turbo variants of that Omni floating around in there somewhere. Never did see a Dodge 600. By the way, you could get a Dodge 600 with a 5-speed. That is kind of a halo car for me. If I could ever find a Dodge 600 with the 5-speed, with the turbo, that would be pretty sick. That would be a neat car. That was the car I kind of really wanted. That would have been a lot of fun. So anyway, talk about an obscure car too. It's like based on the K platform. So mine was a hand-me-down and it had the vinyl top. It was just, God, that poor car. But it would boil the front tire until you took your foot out of it. I mean, it did some awesome looking burnouts. Let's see. You got a bunch of folks in, or had a bunch of folks in. Let me get to you guys. Alberto's got a good question. I'm just kind of picking some guys here at random. Say, what's up, B? Would you get rid of a 15 scat to be able to order a 23 scat pack? Have close to 100,000 miles currently? I'll tell you what. Yes, and I'll tell you why. The operating system in the later cars is a lot better than the earlier cars when it comes to the NA stuff. Racer X is in that shaker, that 19 shaker Challenger that he had back then. That car would run on a drag pack in really cold air 1157, and I know that because we both ran 1157 in that car. So but that's a stock car, and they were consistently, without a tune, we're just talking stock for stock, they were consistently about a tenth or two quicker than the 15, 16, and 17 cars. Let's see. Bear with me, guys. Cal was asking, do you think the Coyote engine works better with boost because it has 4 valves per cylinder? Was debating on picking up a Mustang GT. So the Coyote platform, yes, the heads flow like you wouldn't believe, but they also have independently variable camshafts. One handles the intake, one handles the exhaust. That helps out a ton as well. The ring gap on a Coyote, I think it's like 19 or 18 thousandths. God, I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, it's not the ring gap itself, but it's based on the fact that it's got more ring gap per, if I remember correctly, per the diameter. In other words, let's say if you've got a if you've got a 4-inch bore, okay, and you want to run 6 thousandths per inch to get a mild, nice overall street boosted combination, give you 24, 25 thousandths of ring gap. I think the Mustang, if I'm not mistaken, comes with what in essence would be 0.006 per inch on bore diameter. I'd have to go back and do my homework on that. It's been a while since I looked into it, but it was something along those lines. So you could throw boost at it and not have necessarily as quick of an issue button up those rings. The other thing is it's got 12.5-to-1 compression, and it doesn't take a whole lot of boost to make a lot of power when you've got that much static compression coming into the conversation. But those are a couple of reasons why they do so well. The cylinder heads are phenomenal on those engines. Vanham saying, hey B, love your channel. Thank you very much. Question for you. Do you think Dodge will deeply regret getting rid of their best vehicles and engines? Would there be a lot of backlash to cause the V8 to come back? Here's the thing. The V8 may not be going away. It just may not be in a Dodge car. Keep in mind, Ford has got a really funny habit of carrying the torch, if you will, when other manufacturers don't. Remember that Ford was making Mustangs with V8s when there was no Camaro and there was no Challenger. They were the only game in town, and because of that, a lot of people still love Ford for that exact fact. Now, that being said, will Dodge have a V8 in another platform? Man, I don't know. I don't even know that Dodge knows. There might be some scenario where the backlash creates a problem. It's not unprecedented, by the way. Remember that the Mustang almost suffered the same fate. Y'all remember the 96 Probe GT? Well, I owned one. Fun car. Basically, it's a Mazda 3, but great car. That was going to be your Mustang. Front-wheel drive, 6-cylinder, 24-valve. But there was so much backlash before that car was released that they modified the Fox platform, and you had basically the 94, 95, 96 and up Mustangs. So check that out when you're bored to tears. Excellent question. Again, it depends on what Stellantis wants to do with the Dodge brand. That's the other side of it too. It's going to be tough to say. Chuck saying, I am undercoating it, even though I won't be driving it beyond Halloween. I have a cover for it. The only thing is be careful with the undercoat that you get. It's real easy to create more problems than it's worth in many cases with undercoating. So just be careful with it. Make sure they don't go crazy with it. There's nothing worse than working on a car with a bunch of caked on undercoating. But if you're around a lot of salt, you might have to. Summer saying, hey, B, what's up, Summer? Oh, Ordell saying he hadn't had any trouble with any of the batteries in 3 of his Dodges. No, those batteries are really good. In fact, I think it's sitting out there. I still have the original battery out of Chandelier, and I used to use it to start my wife's Camaro. I haven't put it on the charger in forever. Oh, Alberto, I nailed that question. And Gary, thank you again, brother. I appreciate it. Steven saying Dodge orphan the Brotherhood of Muscle. Man, there's a lot of guys that are upset. I mean, a whole lot of guys that are upset about it. And really, it was just the way that the message was delivered. I don't think it was the car. I'll put it like this. I don't think the Hornet got any hate. It was just, it showed up to the wrong party, honestly. Gary's saying, pretty sure the 5th gear mod for Mopar is just for more of a pulling gear. I mean, if they've got something for the manual transmission, I don't know why. I just have never heard of that gear failing. Oh, Chuck saying it gets 20 below in Vermont. 20 below. Good Lord. In some winters. God, in any winter. God, what do you wear, electric underwear? I mean, holy crap. So the coldest I've ever been, this is funny, I was in Chicago, and it was -7. And I, I'm from Texas, okay? This is in February. I was wearing like a light windbreaker and a ball cap, and we were at a hockey game. Anyway, we had to run like 5 blocks to get to the bus that we were getting onto, and that sucked. -7 is cold. I can't imagine just like it's just too cold. Like, why? Oh God, that's freezing cold. Hang on, Chuck. Thank you again, man. Check that. What is my 2021 Challenger Scat optimized for? 93 or 91? Can I go back and forth between octanes? Absolutely. You can go back and forth between both octanes all you like. But as far as what it's optimized for, in my experience, 93 octane. Only in that it will not ride. You won't see as much knock retard come from the knock sensors with 93 octane as you do with 91. I had run, let me think about this for a minute. I had run some kind of gross quality 93 octane in Shalandra at one point, and I noticed the car felt off, and I was thinking, God, what kind of octane is in this thing? And I would be, if I were to guess, I would say it was probably 90 octane. It felt like just old 93. And just based on the knock sensors that we were looking at, the knock sensor voltage, I can tell you also that 91 and 93 octane tunes, like if you're getting an aftermarket tune, typically there won't be a difference in timing. But if you take a 91 octane and run it on 93, you can sometimes add a little bit of timing to it, and the car will take it without having any issues with knock sensors freaking out and starting to yank timing. Don't worry about running 91 octane though. That 91 octane is an extremely common gasoline. I would say it's at least in some areas a lot more common than 93. In terms of overall performance, if you've got really good 91, it's just as good as any average 93 octane would be for that gas or for that car. Sorry, I just saw one pop up. Albert's going, Bucky's 93 or Shell's 93. I had a problem with Bucky's 93 at one point. The issue that I ran into was not with naturally aspirated, but with boosted stuff. I just had a tank of gas that was bad, and it was so bad that I went back and data logged it, and I could not get Exxon gas in it or Shell gas in it fast enough. Chuck's asking, I shouldn't have to get a tune though, right? No, you don't have to. It's no, not at all. In fact, I wouldn't get a tune on that car. That car, the later scat packs are really, really good from the factory. The factory tune is tough to beat with the scats. Really, any of the 18 and 19, really the 19 and up cars, they're really tough to beat from a power standpoint, and from just the way that the car runs. It really is a big difference. Oh, hang on just a second. Oh, hang on. But yeah, I wouldn't tune that car at all. I would just enjoy it the way it is, brother. Let's see. I just picked one here, kind of random. Cal's asking, what percentage of the Mopar base will be lost if they don't have anything besides the Hornet and the Dodge Challenger SRT Charger Banshee Esquire. Man, I don't know. It's a good question because you won't have a product to sell. At least not to the hot rod crowd. One of the issues you're going to run into there is, where do you go if you want modern pony car, muscle car type cars? I mean, to me, it ends up looking a lot more like 2007 all over again, where you didn't have a Camaro and you didn't have a Challenger, at least not yet. So for 2005, 6, 7, it was all the Mustang show. And remember, they were building the GT500 back then too. I just saw Sovereignty. I'm already crying over the Challenger going away for sure. Just picking this one randomly. Sam said, I just got my 400,000 mile Ram back from the paint and body shop. Forgot how much fun a tuned diesel is to drive. It's a lot different than the motorhome. Yeah, tuned diesels are a lot of fun, can be. Ripped is asking, did you say fill it full of oil before I put the filter on? No. No, fill the filter full of oil before you put the filter on. Don't fill the crankcase full of oil. Yeah, I must have misspoke, or some kind of syllable came in front of the one that it shouldn't have. But yeah, no, don't fill her up full of oil. No, fill the filter up full of oil before you put it on, and then fill the oil up. Good Lord. Screwed that all up. Let's see. Oh, Michael's asking, is it okay to put tire dressing on a drag radial? Yes, just not on the tread. Hey, Quick Break is in. What's up, brother? I guess Gary had asked a question. He's saying, I had hundreds of passes on my full-weight SRT 392 Challenger on the factory half shafts, cutting a best of a 150 460 foot, and the factory half shafts have never winced. Now, the factory stuff's really good. A whole lot better than you might think, as a matter of fact. And again, Chris is in. Orange Crush. From Spring Nationals fame, by the way. Rip saying I spent $1,700 on Renegade half shafts. Probably could have saved money if I went with red eye ones. I was about to say, Gary even said, Rip, you weren't that far off. Red eyes are $14.95. Yep. Gary's saying, thanks, Pete. Chuck's saying, okay, everyone report this Techno Blade. Oh, I must have missed something. Did I miss something? Did y'all get him? Looks like somebody already nailed him. Good job, mods. Excellent, excellent work. Yeah, it looks like Riff nailed him. I didn't see it, so good job, guys. Oh, Gary's saying, thanks for the heads up. Yep. Yeah, that Charger was strong. Chuck saying, hello, Sovereign. Saying, hit that like button. Hit it. Sorry, saying, wow, Chuck dropped a Ben Frank. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate all the support. I really do. Chuck saying, yeah, feeling good on this channel tonight. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it a ton. Ripped is asking, what was my first car? My first car that I owned was that Dodge 600. Midnight blue with a vinyl top, and man, the car ran great. That was the thing. I mean, it was a really good running Dodge 600. Used to give Camaros fits back then, you know, the 305 TBI stuff, and I think car ran good. But before that, I mean, I was growing up, I drove a probably, what was it, a 76, 77 LTD with a 351. My grandfather was teaching me how to, control the skid, which was, what you call drifting now, in a 1984 Dodge Ram with a 6-cylinder. So that was kind of a riot. But my personal first car is that Dodge 600. And then it was Dodge 600, Jeep Cherokee, and then Ford Ranger Splash, which I really wish I'd have never gotten rid of that truck. It was a 4-liter with a 5-speed. Ardell saying, hey, Sovereign. Racer X saying, good to see you live. Thank you for your take on our secret. You got it, brother. Secret is safe with me. Oh yeah, Tad was asking if I ever drove the GLH. No, I wish I would have. That's another car. You drive one, you probably never want to get rid of it. Riv saying, hey, Racer X, how's it going? Sorry, saying, X is the man. Yes, sir. Ardell saying, hello to Racer X. Sorry, saying, Dodge. Gotta love it. Chuck saying, don't get beat going on Dodge. I tell you what. And Sovereign saying, I sense bad vibes. Chuck saying, I'll need to burn another fatty. Nice. Cali kind is the kindest kind. But I hear good things about Virginia. So the interesting thing about, you're talking about the whole deal with Dodge and the releases and all of that. I got all of the mad out of me. I think I was really pissed for the Hornet. Okay, so I want to make one thing real clear. I think the Hornet is going to be an awesome car. I think it's going to be, it frankly is a really cool car. But I think it was introduced at the wrong place. It was place and time, marketing, product, place, pricing, promotion, the 3 Ps. And it was the wrong product in the wrong place. And it was at the wrong promotion. It literally struck out 3 of the 4 times. And pricing is only relevant to the right audience. And again, nobody really cared what the price was going to be, aside from somebody that wanted to pick one up as a daily, as an around town, buzz around commuter type ride, which it would do really, really good at. They missed out on that. And that kind of pissed me off, because to me it was a marketing opportunity that they absolutely just, once again, absolutely just whiffed. And I have a really hard time with Dodge getting it wrong so often after they have done such a good job of getting it right in other areas. Like, it's one of those things where you can't get it wrong when it's a gimme. Like, this is the Hornet release would have been an absolute gimme for any other manufacturer, and it only took Dodge to strip success away from a failure. Or I should say failure away from a success, but in a way success away from a failure. Because now what are they going to show at SEMA? The SEMA would have been the success. The failure is that they didn't show the other car that they said that in that one Fast 29 that they were going to show at SEMA. Why not show that thing? It looked like a muscle car. So you can look at it both ways. It's a failure for the car that's sitting there that needs to be in that release, and it's a failure for the Hornet that should have been released at SEMA, which, by the way, if that thing would have been released at SEMA, it would have gone over like gangbusters. So, I mean, talk about missing your audience. That thing missed its audience completely. Like, not even a little bit. Oh, it just pissed me off. Because it was, and again, that's why I said, it's like having your kids sit at or having somebody having their kids sit at the grown folks table and then complain about the language. You can't be mad that you may have heard people groaning in the background as they're talking about the Hornet, because you're showing it at the wrong venue, basically. Steven brings up a good point, saying, am I the only one that thought the EV Charger wasn't great looking? The rear hatch is a mess and the front was too angled downward. They are fighting for an egg shape for aerodynamics. Maybe. Earache. Got the hand clap. Simon saying 420, eh? He's laughing. I'm already crying over the Challenger going away as Sovereign. Chuck saying, me too, I'll need counseling and antidepressant meds. I'll tell you what, okay, so confession time. Here's the thing. Y'all have heard me say how much I love the Ram. Stormy, not just because it's new. It's a neat truck. Whatever gripes that I have about that thing are absolutely useless to bring up. But what do I do with Chandelier, aka Revlon? I was thinking, after the whole release thing, announcement thing, I'm holding on to that car as long as I can. I mean, there's not going to be another car like that get released, at least not anytime soon. Not like that one right there. And at one point, I was thinking, okay, well, whatever the next thing is, I kind of want to jump on the bandwagon. But because there's no wagon with a band on it to jump on, and because Chandelier, aka Revlon, is an early release Hellcat, like its birthday is in November of 2014, and I haven't seen but one other Hellcat with a birthday that was older, and that was October of 2014. So why would I want to get rid of it again? Like, it's the beginning. It is literally the alpha, with the latest cars being the Omega of the Hellcat family. And I gotta be honest, that's kind of cool. There's some quirks about the car that I still love to death. The fact that the intake air temp and the intercooler, the low pressure or low temperature radiator, LTR, the intercooler temp are flipped. It's one of those cars. There's just some neat quirks about it that I really love. So, I don't see anything that I would want more. And see, that's one of the problems that I have. And I haven't touched on this. This was going to be kind of its own, like a standalone deal. But so, Dodge. I see what you're trying to do with this release. Whatever you did with the Wraith, I'm not going to call it the Dodge Challenger, Charger, Banshee, Noisemaker, whatever it is. Whatever you did with the Wraith, I get it. Nobody really has anything flattering to say outside of it might be fast, and I thought that it looked neat. Some people liked it. Some people didn't, and a whole lot more people are talking that it didn't really resonate with a lot of folks the way I think that they thought that it would. And this is across age demographics also. But Dodge, hi. Flying that flag for a long time. Literally. Got a big Mopar banner right over here. Oh, can you see it? There it is. I didn't see a damn thing in that release that would make me want to part ways with this 2015 7-year-old Dodge that I got sitting right on the other side of that wall. Dodge, did you honestly think for 1 minute that you were setting the table for anybody that has been actually supporting the brand, the brotherhood, the breed, or whatever you want to call yourself? Did you think that anything that you dropped on us was going to be at all appetizing? I'm curious as to why that One Fast 29 contraption thing that you decided to I don't know, park underneath a car cover and say, wait until SEMA. Stupid move on your part, by the way. Another thing that pissed a lot of folks off, thought you're being kind of cheeky with them, already not really showing them anything that's really worth them looking at. But the reality is that you didn't show us anything that I would actually want to part ways with my hard-earned income for. You're showing me the Wraith, then you show me the Hornet, which again, you could have done a completely better job at showing us, all of us, the brotherhood, what's really coming that we would really be interested in. I don't care about where you're going so far in the future. I want to know what's coming in the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, because from the way it looks, you don't have your shit together with the electric vehicle that you're talking about. You were the first to start talking about EVs for the trucks, and you're the last to get one on board. You've got the electric Silverado and the Lightning already in production. You've already got the EV Hummer. Nothing is more audacious than a 1,000 horsepower Hummer, right? But you didn't show up with an EV Ram. You're the first to talk about it, but you haven't done anything with it. Now you want to talk about this electric car. Well, STLA Large was something that was already talked about a while back. This thing should be well on its way to production quality. And nothing, crickets, no specs, no pricing, no nothing. It's essentially a nothing sandwich. And that is the problem with this. The only issue that I have is how big of a loaf will this turd really be once they start trying to roll the thing out? Because right now, I can't really see any benefit to buying anything that is coming from Dodge unless we start hearing something completely different about the EVs as they're rolling out. I know that there are some folks that are going to be really quick to jump on an EV platform because they are fast as hell. I understand that. But the problem is that you're missing the boat. The Hornet's place should have been taken by whatever the new proposed maybe might be, not quite got it figured out, but could be platform with the insert displacement of engine here with hybrid technology backing it up there. We're talking powers of insert number that sounds big, and that would have been amazing on day 2. That would have gotten some people to actually part ways with something that looks a lot like that to get into something that would look a lot like this. But notice that this is nothing because you showed us nothing. You gave us nothing to write home about. You gave us nothing to report. And since you have nothing to report, what are we supposed to do? Just wonder what's going to happen in a very short, mind you, 2 years. You forget how fast time flies in this industry, and by the time you've popped your head up, you're still behind the 8 ball when it comes to the EV technology that you are so quick to roll out to say that is taking over from where the V8s were. It doesn't have to be a V8, but it's got to be a better rollout than the EV that you're showing. Again, you're coming into this late, and you're coming into this cold. Not a good look. Not a good look for Dodge. Dodge, a company that we were just talking about, let loose with cars like the Daytona, front wheel drive, turbo, boils the front tires, the 600, the Omni GLH, other cars like that. There are vehicles that you had in your arsenal back in the day that were coming in hot based on the prevailing politics of the times. The V8 was going away. The V6 and the 4-cylinder turbo were going to be the wave of the future. You jumped on it quick. You were out in front of it. Yes, the V8 came back, though, and it came back to life because of the technology that the 4-cylinder turbos brought to the table. But you are in the exact opposite position right now. You are coming in dead ass last. And the problem is that you've got so many people that are wanting to support your brand and wanting to stand behind you and wanting to drive and push these narratives for you. And yet you have failed on every single conceivable topic in every single possible way that you could. How is it that you could be batting 1,000 in the wrong direction? This is Dodge, for crying out loud. You brought us the Challenger back. You brought us the Hellcat when nobody was even looking for a Hellcat. Oddly enough, right on the heels of the GT500 going away, then we had in the same year, 2015, the Hellcat show up to carry that mantle even further. Piqued everybody's imagination with the kind of sort of will, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, run a 965 Demon. And then carried that forward with the Red Eye. The perennial replacement for the Demon in the super stock. And the list goes on. How can you be that manufacturer and then screw up, by the way, a legacy that you tried to harken back to with the Hornet, with the GLH badging? You try to bring us something like that, but you're last to the party. You were the first before, and now you're last. This isn't very Ricky Bobby of you. So please, Dodge, get it right. Sort it out. Understand what your brotherhood is looking for. Because right now it's a bunch of lip service. And it's starting to wear thin. And it's starting to sound a whole lot less genuine. In fact, it's starting to sound like a lie. It's starting to sound made up, contrived, and more to the point, disingenuous. It's not a good look, Dodge. And these are fans of yours that came over from other brands. These are new Dodge. Remember when you talked about how your demographic was the youngest? Well, I got news for you. They're also the youngest to remember when you screwed them over. These are the same folks, just a different age marks their passage around the sun. But these are the same type of folks that'll look at you and go, well, you killed the Aspen, the last bastion of hope for a muscle car, but you killed that and didn't have anything from 19 back in the day, whenever, until what in essence would be 2008, Viper notwithstanding. Think about it, Dodge. And I understand muscle car doesn't make up much big of a percentage of what. Hold up. You don't get to say that. You don't get to play that card, Dodge, because every single commercial that you have has a Challenger or a Charger sliding all over the place, lots of tire smoke, lots of rock and roll music, and that is your brand identity. The Hornet is not going to be your brand identity. Let me get back to you guys. Oh, Rich saying the whole EV thing is making me feel nostalgic for my own Challengers. Yeah, me too. So I'm kind of going backwards here. I mean, that quad halo of joy is going bye-bye, Sovereign saying. Oh, Steven's saying, why no 4-liter-ish V8 hybrid to get both worlds? I know. It could be anything. Oh, Ardell's saying, yeah, he's not a big fan of the EV. I tell you what, my wife will not deal with an EV at all. As a matter of fact, Borla S-Type is going on Stormy. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be doing an install Friday evening-ish, maybe. Really looking forward to that. Big thanks to Matt over at Moe's. My buddy took care of me on this one. Got me a smoking deal on that Borla S-Type. Cannot wait to get that on the truck. Nothing sounds quite as good. I mean, listen, 6.4s sound great, 6.2s do, but for whatever reason, that 5.7 combination just sounds so good with exhaust. So, looking forward to that a ton. We're saying, it's talking about the hybrid. I agree. I think going with a hybrid V8 setup would be great. Low emissions, good gas mileage. Look, guys, I mean, anything hybrid is transitional technology, but it allows you to have the best of both worlds in some cases. Let's see what they come out with. Hopefully they've got something cool for us. Oh, Cyber saying you're lucky to have had one. The closest thing I have are 1/18 scale models. I understand that. Callis is asking a good question. What percentage of the Mopar base would be lost if they don't have anything besides the Hornet, the Dodge Challenger, SRT, Banshee, Esquire? Oh, I think I touched on this. I don't know. That's a good question, and I don't know. To me, it's like the brand identity goes away at that point. Oh, Steven's saying, talking to Sovereign, saying prices are going to go crazy. It might. Sovereign saying out, Steven. Sovereign saying, Chuck dropping an Andy J. Yes, sir. Thank you all very much. I appreciate that, by the way. Sovereign saying 2008 to 23, that's an impressive run for the Challenger. It's an obnoxiously long run for the Challenger, by the way, guys. Remember that we were supposed to lose the Challenger in 2018. That was going to be a 10-year run, and they were going to rip it for the 11th model year. And they just kept extending it. So really, 2018 was going to be the last year. The halo for that was going to be the Demon, and then 19, 20, 21 kept going up from there. I remember one of the funnier things I remember about that whole deal is I remember, okay, 18 looks like it's going to be the last year. We don't know yet. And then it was, okay, 19 looks like it's going to be bad. And then, okay, well, now it's got sent out to 21. And there was a lot of crazy stuff going on with that back then. Oh, Steven's hanging out with Sovereign. Oh, Earache saying peppermint oil, not extract, is a great rodent inhibitor. Put some on a cotton ball and re-oil occasionally. Good tip. I didn't know that. Thank you very much. Oh, Sam's saying thinks the Charger looks like the prototype from the 90s. It does look a little prototypey, doesn't it? Someone's saying I was getting the prototype vibes too. Yep. Crypto's saying my drag setup is in my bedroom or on the car for a night. Yep. I keep mine when the temperatures drop. I keep mine in the office. Sovereign saying he can't wait to see that Daytona in action. Chuck saying Kaniskas should come out in a tutu. At least that would have been entertaining along with depressing failing. Sovereign saying GLH, RIP, Carol Shelby, for sure. Callis is asking if that Banshee sounds like Marty Moose trying to yak up a hairball. It's not so weird. It's not a cool sound. It's got that shrill thing to try to make the hair stand up on the back of your neck, but I see what they're trying to do with it. It's just didn't look what I was saying. Okay, so how would I have done it differently? Okay, check this out. Any of you guys that are musicians will understand exactly where I'm going with this the minute I use this word. Pickups. Look, you could take and actually mic up or put actual pickups, like a guitar style pickup, on or around that motor somehow, to where you're miking up the motor, so to speak. You run that through an auto tune or through some kind of a distortion type, some type of an audio thing. You have a couple of speakers, a couple of, 300 watt speakers tucked up underneath the fender well or in that speaker thing or however you wanted to do it. That would technically not be really any different than putting a louder exhaust on an engine. It's just amplifying what's already there and making that noise so you can hear it. Change the tune. Change the tone. And in this case, it would be like tuning the sound to whatever you would like it to sound like. But it would be the actual motor. So you could have it, I mean, there's so many different, I'm sure, ways you could do it. But the idea is that you're picking up on what the motor is actually doing. And in that case, think about how cool that would be. But they chose to do something that was like a noisemaker. And then, God bless. And then he said, it's 120 something decibels. I'm going, that's like 120 something decibels of an annoying noise. I mean, what? A nagging girlfriend was already taken? Like, baby at Applebee's was already soaked up? Like, what is the deal? Why that noise? It just, some people had to sit around. You have to understand, people had to sit around and go, we got to come up with a badass sounding noise. Go. I mean, what do you, I mean, it's not. It sounds bad. It actually sounds rushed, is what it sounds like. So, anyway, but that would have been, how cool would that have been? Anyway, I will go absolutely nuts. Okay, so the release, just, what was the, somebody around the head, why did they do that? Like, why can't, if they're going to turn the thing around, why don't they just take it out to Woodward, make a pass, race a plaid? Something neat, and it just, oh my God, they just failed so miserably at this. You know what? I will say this. In Tim Kaniskis's defense, I'm like, blink twice if they're holding you hostage. Like, are you okay? I really did feel like the guy's hands were cuffed in this. The more I think about it and the more I look to what he was saying, how he was saying it, it was like he had to say the things that he was doing, and he had to put the abominations out there that he was putting out there so that Stellantis would release a family member or something. It was weird. I kind of got this, I got a weird vibe from that experience of watching that the releases on Racer X's channel, because as I was watching this, I was feeling like these were words that the guy just did not want to say, and he was trying to give a message or put a message out there to an audience that, if given their own, if left to their own devices, would have raised him up a flagpole, and played tetherball with him. I mean, it would have been, for what he was saying, in other words. So, in that respect, I don't fault the CEO of the company. And I really do hope that they have something worth showing at SEMA, because I would hate for my beloved Mopar to just get eviscerated in the marketplace. But I'm here to tell you guys, a lot of Mopar guys are ex-Ford guys. A lot of Mopar guys today grew up with Fox bodies, SN95s, and 4th gen Camaros. So much less would be in the Camaro crowd. Lots of Mustang guys, though, made the switch over to Mopar. And by all accounts, the S650 is going to have a V8. And Ford's going to keep on making a V8 a Mustang. And once again, they won't have any competition. Now, last time they didn't have any competition, they came out with cars like, and trucks like, the Lightning. Or at least the Gen 2 Lightning. Came out with this other little contraption called the Terminator Cobra GT500, and the list goes on as that platform evolved. So Maybe it's the revival of Ford. Who knows? Could be the best thing that ever happened to Ford, considering that Challenger outsells the Mustang. How are you going to get rid of a car that outsells the best-selling car in the field? Don't get me started. I'll just end up going off again. Steven's hanging out with Chuck. Let's see. Chuck saying, I will love my Challenger scat forever. No invading EPA ass-kissing tech will change that for sure. Sean's got a good question. What's up? What's your opinion on ported heads for the Hemis? For the 6.1, I'd say it's a good idea. Those heads are good street heads, and they can be improved with porting. For the Eagle heads, the problem with porting Eagle heads is that they're already really good from the factory. So you can get maybe another 15, 20 CFM out of them, but I don't know that they're going to help you a ton with making a lot of power unless you are putting a significantly sized cam in the thing and you're looking to turn high RPM with like a sniper intake. In that respect, you might be looking at a good combination, but it would be a part of an entire combination. As far as how much power would you pick up, man, it all depends on what cam, what intake, and basically what you're doing with the thing. If it's a street car, I wouldn't worry about it, honestly. Simon's saying 39 watchers, 39 likes. Oh, Chuck's saying go to my channel if you want to see it. Or Chuck, you're a mod. You can put up your URL whenever you want, brother. Simon's saying, what's your YouTube? I will sub. Oh, Simon's saying, yeah, you're a mod. You can drop the URL. Chuck saying, occupied right now. Love the professor, man. I appreciate it. But no, man, get your grab your URL and post it up, brother. Yeah, he's saying, yeah, so yeah, he's got his original music on there and his old shaker, so check it out, guys. Get on there. Chuck saying, but his new scat is making an appearance. Very nice. X is saying, hey, big guy, why did the 392 get so thrashed on by the Dodge? They beat that thing like it's their worst kid, and they don't give a damn. No power upgrade in 7 years. So one of the there's a few reasons. One, the 392 was already really, really good when it was released. It does really well for that platform, and because of that, it never got any updates or upgrades, primarily because they couldn't get it to pass emissions. One of the weird things about engines and emissions is that you can, and I'm not sure of the timeline, but you can grandfather engines when EPA regulations change. You can grandfather in engines, I think for a certain amount of time. It might be 3 to 5 years, whatever it is. But that rule changed. And it's my understanding that the engines now cannot be grandfathered, and you have to satisfy existing EPA requirements and component, which is the big one, component protection requirements. In this case, it's catalytic converters. So the ability to make more power with the 392 might be squashed a little bit because it has a nasty habit of maybe cooking converters if you try to make more power with it, especially under partial throttle conditions and high load conditions. It's for some of these reasons that you see these later cars, the Tune, they will go into catalytic converter overtemp protection like that. They go super rich, super quick. And again, it's a component protection thing. So, but that's probably why. And again, it costs a lot of money, and it's a train wreck to try to get engines an EO, which is an executive order. That's just a kind of a fancy way of saying the EPA signs off on the engine. Sovereign saying 49 watching, 41 likes. Awesome, guys. Thank y'all very much. Oh, Ripped is asking, what do you think about the Powershot button on the Hornet? I think that's what they called it. Seems like a cool idea. I've been saying that for forever. Basically, it just gives you full battery discharge at the touch of a button. Kind of like it's electronic nitrous. So I was saying, if demonology like a Hornet, it's got to be interesting. It's a cool car. Listen, it's an awesome car. That's my whole thing about the Hornet, is that I see it for what it is. It's cool for what it is. And it's listen, you're going to have a car that's got all of its torque available right now. You know how quick that thing is going to be off the line? It's going to put a hurting on some feelings. I can promise you that. So we're saying, seems like the GLH is the one. I would agree. Jonathan Gapt is saying, I think Dodge made a huge mistake not keeping their V8 program going. They are going to lose a lot of their fan base. It's very possible, and I agree with that. Seems hanging out with John. Ardell saying they only have 91 octane up there. And again, Chuck, thank you very much, buddy. Oh, Rift saying he lives in California, wishes he had some seasons. Right now, it's apparently the raining season down here in beautiful Southeast Texas. Oh, Sovereign saying 91 is the highest in California. That might be right. Can you get 93 closer to further east in California? I'm not sure if you can. Hang on just a second. Lots of comments, guys. I am not going to be able to get to all of y'all. We are coming up on 2 hours, and I'm going to have to check out pretty soon. Destroyer 1320 saying, thanks for always being real. You rock, brother. Man, thank you very much. I appreciate you, buddy. I want to try to get to you guys. I really do appreciate that a ton, guys. Thank y'all very much. B's asking, why am I only hearing you out of one ear? I'm going to try to get some of you guys randomly here. Chuck, man, saying, well, got to go. Thank you, brother. I appreciate everything, man. I really do. Thank you very much for all your support, bud. Thank you. And with that, guys, I too have got to get going. I want to thank y'all all very much for all the support, all the love, man. It makes it great for me, but it helps me to keep bringing you guys content. And I tell you what, always fun. Love each and every one of you guys. Would not do this without you. And I say that after pretty much every show, but I really do mean it, man. It means a ton for you guys to be hanging out with me, and hopefully, I've given you something to help you out with your building your cars. It's kind of weird, you've been doing live shows now for a long time, and it feels weird when I don't do one. So just know that really does come from the heart. Again, I really do appreciate all the support, guys. But with that, I do have to wrap it up. If I didn't get to you guys, I am really sorry. Try to catch you on the next one. But guys, I got to wrap it up. So guys, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they really need it more than you think. Again, guys, love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. And with that, Ray, miss and love you. That is a wrap. We will catch y'all on the next one. Thanks again, guys. Adios.